Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're heading straight to Sri Lanka to explore Yala National Park. Our mission really is to take the deepest possible look at its history, the ecology, and, well, the incredibly complex conservation status of Sri Lanka's second largest and most visited national park.
Right. And just to situate you quickly, Yala is down in the southeastern corner of the country. It spans the southern and Uva provinces, right there hugging the Indian Ocean coastline, about 300 kilometers from Colombo.
And it's got history, right? This isn't some new park.
Oh, definitely not. It was actually designated a wildlife sanctuary way back in 1900. Then, in 1938, it became one of Sri Lanka's very first two national parks, along with Wilpatu. So, yeah, deep roots in conservation.
And the reason Yala has such a massive global reputation, well, it seems to be twofold. First, it's absolutely crucial for conserving the Sri Lankan elephant, huge animals. But second, and this is really core to our dive today, Yala apparently has one of the highest recorded densities of leopards anywhere in the world.
That's the big one. That fact alone tells you just how unique this environment is. And understanding how it sustains so much life, especially predators like leopards, at that density, that's key.
Okay, let's start with the basics then, the geography. The park's enormous, isn't it?
It is 979 square kilometers. It's organized into 5 main blocks, though typically only 3 are actually open to the public. Plus, you've got adjoining protected areas, like Kamana, which people often call Yala East.
Yala East, right. And the terrain itself, I picture something dramatic, but the sources say flatter.
Surprisingly so, yeah. It's mostly a mildly undulating plain. It rises, but only gently, from about 30 meters near the coast up to maybe 100, 125 meters further inland.
But that flatness is maybe a bit deceptive, because the climate sounds like the real defining factor.
Absolutely. It's a dry, semi-arid region. Most of the rain comes during the northeast monsoon, which means for a large chunk of the year, surface water is, well, it's everything. It's the critical limiting resource.
Okay, so when the monsoon stops, how do these huge elephant herds, let alone all those leopards, actually survive? Where's the reliable water coming from in that long dry spell?
It's a fascinating mix, really. Some natural, some historical engineering. You've got your streams, obviously, lagoons near the coast, and these historical tanks.
Tanks, like reservoirs.
Exactly. Large, often ancient, man-made reservoirs. Names like Mahasalawa, Buthawa come up. They're remnants of past civilizations. But the really vital resource, particularly for the elephants during the peak dry season, are the rock pools.
Rock pools, how do they work?
They're basically natural depressions in the rock outcrops scattered across the park.
Yeah.
These pockets can hold water pretty much year-round, even when other sources dry up. They become absolute lifelines.
Wow. Okay. And given that strong seasonality, the rivers must fluctuate wildly then.
Oh, intensely. You have the Medic River and the Kumbukan Oya flowing through. But take the Kumbukan Oya. Our sources say it can discharge 7 times more water during the rainy season compared to the dry season.
7 times. That kind of difference must shape everything.
It completely defines the rhythm of the park. Feeding patterns, breeding cycles, animal movements, it's all tied to that water cycle.
And that cycle, in turn, supports this incredible mix of ecosystems I'm reading about. It's not just one thing, is it?
Not at all. It's a real mosaic. You get everything from moist monsoon forests in some patches to the dominant, dry, semi-arid scrubland, then coastal marine wetlands, salt marshes, and even sandy beaches.
Such variety. And the plant life must be just as specialized.
Very much so. It's all about adaptation to that dryness. The forest canopy often features species like Drypeat sepiaria and Melalcara hexandra. Seeing those tells you you're in a healthy, relatively undisturbed dry zone forest. And if you go toward the coast into the wetlands like Buthawa Lagoon, you find these really important mangrove ecosystems. Rhizophora macronata is a big component there.
Mangroves too, right? Are there any plants unique to Yala?
There are endemic species, yes. One mentioned is Glenia unihuga, which is found specifically in the wetland areas of the park. It highlights how specialized the flora has become.
Okay, let's shift to the main event for many people, the wildlife. And we have to circle back to that star attraction, the Sri Lankan leopard, that density claim. What did the numbers actually suggest?
The density is, well, pretty astonishing. Some estimates suggest around 25 individual leopards just within Block I.
Block I, that's the main tourist area, isn't it?
Exactly, the most accessible part. So having maybe 25 leopards in just that relatively small, frequently visited section, it's why Yala is arguably the best place on Earth to actually see leopards in the wild.
That's incredible. And that obviously drives a lot of the tourism.
It's a huge part of it, yeah. But leopards are just one piece, an important one, but still just one piece.
Right, because the park hosts, what, 44 recorded mammal species overall, including that significant elephant population.
Absolutely. Around 300 to 350 Sri Lankan elephants are estimated to live in or regularly use the park. It's a vital stronghold for them. And Yala provides sanctuary for other threatened mammals, too. Critically, the Sri Lankan sloth bear, which is quite elusive.
Sloth bears, okay. And wild water buffalo.
Yes, wild water buffalo, too. Though there's a bit of nuance there. While the species is indigenous to Sri Lanka, many of the buffalo you see in Yala today might have some historical genetic mixing with domestic stock, or be descended from feral populations. It's complex. But you also commonly see other mammals, the tolk macaque, which is endemic, the golden palm civet, sometimes even the fishing cat near water bodies.
So it's rich in mammals, but the story doesn't end there. Yala is also a big deal for bird watchers, I gather. It's listed as an IBA.
Correct. An important bird area. One of 70 in Sri Lanka, actually. The checklist for Yala has 215 bird species. That includes 7 species endemic to the island.
Like which ones?
Things like the Sri Lanka gray hornbill, Sri Lanka junglefowl, the national bird, in fact. And the wetlands are crucial again here. They support about 90 species of water birds. And get this, about half of those are migrants.
Migrants. Flying in from where?
Usually down from the north for the winter. Birds like the northern pintail, various sandpipers, terns. They rely on Yala's wetlands during their migration.
Okay, so mammals, birds. What about reptiles? Down on the ground and in the water.
A healthy list there, too.
Yep.
47 reptile species recorded. 6 of those are endemic to Sri Lanka. You've got snakes like the Sri Lankan crate, highly venomous, need to be careful, and lizards like the painted lip lizard.
And crocodiles, I assume.
Both species found in Sri Lanka breed in Yala. The mugger crocodile, mostly in freshwater tanks and pools, and the saltwater crocodile down in the estuaries and coastal areas. But the coastline, this is really significant. Yala's beaches are nesting grounds for all 5 species of globally endangered sea turtles that visit Sri Lanka.
All 5 in one park's coastline. That's huge.
It is. Leatherback, olive ridley, loggerhead, hawksbill, and green turtle. They all come ashore here to lay their eggs. It's an immense conservation responsibility.
Wow. So Yala is this incredible ecological hotspot, but it's not untouched wilderness, is it? There's human history layered in there, too.
Oh, absolutely. A tremendous amount. There's archaeological evidence pointing to a sophisticated hydraulic and agricultural society here, dating back as far as the 5th century BC. See it in those ancient tanks we mentioned earlier. Many are in disrepair now, but they show people were managing water and living here millennia ago.
And it's not just ancient history, is it? It's still a living spiritual center.
Very much so. Yeah. The park actually contains 2 extremely important Buddhist pilgrimage sites. There's Sithulpahua, which ancient texts say was once home to 12,000 arahants, enlightened monks, and Mughal Vihara, a monastery complex built around 87 BC.
12,000 monks, and people still visit these sites today, inside the park.
In huge numbers. Sithulpahua especially remains a major pilgrimage destination. Our sources estimate Yala gets around 400,000 pilgrims visiting annually.
400,000 pilgrims moving through a park with the world's highest leopard density. That sounds complicated.
It's definitely a management challenge, which we should get into. But first, there's another major event that shaped recent history there. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami.
Right. Yala was right in its path, wasn't it?
Directly. The coast there was hit hard. Reports mention a wave height of around 20 feet, or 6.1 meters. Tragically, about 250 people were killed in the immediate vicinity of the park.
Devastating. What was the ecological impact inside the park itself?
It was significant, but also quite localized geographically. Around 5,000 hectares of habitat, mostly scrub forest, grasslands, and wetlands near the coast, were directly damaged. Interestingly, the tsunami waves penetrated furthest inland, mainly through gaps in the coastal dunes, like river mouths. Where they hit, satellite data showed a sharp drop in vegetation health, what scientists call the NDVI.
I remember back then there was a lot of talk about animals somehow sensing the tsunami beforehand, having a 6th sense. Did any research in Yala look into that?
Yes, there was a specific study mentioned that tracked 2 radio-collared elephants within the park during the event. The conclusion was pretty clear. Their movements fleeing inland were consistent with reacting to immediate cues from the approaching waves, like the sound or ground vibrations.
So a rapid reaction, not some kind of prediction.
Exactly. More about incredibly sensitive hearing or sensing ground tremors, rather than any mystical 6th sense.
Okay. Let's turn now to the ongoing challenges conservation and managing all these pressures. The sources mention the human cost to park wardens being killed.
Yes. Tragically, 3 wardens have been killed in clashes with poachers over the years. It really highlights the dangers involved in protecting a place like Yala. Poaching is a constant threat, unfortunately. But there are others too. Illegal gem mining is a serious problem along the Menek River, inside the park boundaries.
Gem mining. How destructive is that?
Highly destructive. They dig these deep pits, apparently up to 30 meters deep, searching for gems in the riverbed sediment, and just leave them. It scars the landscape and disrupts the river ecosystem. Then you have logging, though perhaps less prevalent now, and encroachment for agriculture.
Agriculture? How does that encroach?
Mainly through something called China cultivation. It's basically a form of slash and burn farming. People clear forest patches, especially mentioned in blocks 3 and 4, often to provide grazing land for cattle during the dry season. This directly competes with wildlife habitat.
And on top of all that, invasive species.
Yes, another major headache. Invasive alien plants like Lantana camara and the prickly pear cactus Opuntia delenii are spreading aggressively in some areas. They outcompete native vegetation that wildlife depends on, so it's a serious ecological threat managers have to constantly battle.
It sounds like this tension, managing the boundary between humans and wildlife, has a very long history here. I saw a note about a game ranger back in 1958.
Leonage John Stanley Fernando,
Yeah.
photographed with a rescued leopard cub. It does show that these efforts at coexistence, rescue, and management have been going on for decades, and that whole dynamic now feeds directly into the complexities of tourism.
Because Yala is the most visited park in Sri Lanka, right?
By far. And it draws a significant international crowd, too. Foreign visitors, especially from Europe, make up about 30% of the total.
And they're coming mainly for the wildlife.
Overwhelmingly.
Hmm?
The surveys show people visit primarily to see wild animals, with elephants and, of course, leopards being the top draws.
That tourism brings in vital money, I assume, but managing it must be tough, especially with the security history.
It's been a bit of a roller coaster. There were periods, particularly around 2007, 2008, when security issues linked to the Civil War, including some specific terrorist incidents affecting the park area, caused visitor numbers and revenue to plummet. But since the war ended in 2009, security has dramatically improved. That led to a huge surge in both local and foreign visitors, and revenue climbed steeply.
But more visitors inevitably means more impact, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's the constant tension. You get noise pollution, air pollution from all the safari vehicles. There are issues with vehicle congestion, especially around leopard sightings, and sometimes instances of vehicles getting too close or harassing wildlife. Plus, there's the challenge of managing the commercial activity that springs up around popular spots, like the Sithilpahua pilgrimage site.
So how does the park management try to cope? Any specific measures?
They do implement measures. One major one mentioned is a 40-kilometer-long electric fence that was specifically built to try and mitigate human-elephant conflict by preventing elephants from wandering out of the park into adjacent villages and farmlands. It's a stark example of that high-stakes balancing act they're constantly performing.
So wrapping up our deep dive into Yala, it really strikes me that this place is so much more than just a wildlife park or a safari destination. It feels like this incredibly dense historical crossroads. You've got extreme biodiversity, highlighted by that leopard concentration, layered with ancient spiritual sites, resilience against natural disasters like the tsunami, and all these constant modern human pressures.
I think that's exactly right. And if you look at the bigger picture, Yala is a fascinating case study in what we might call integrated management. Park authorities aren't just enforcing conservation rules. They're actively facilitating deep-seated religious and cultural practices for hundreds of thousands of people. Remember, Sithilpahua, that major pilgrimage site, is accessible within the park and free of charge, FOC. That creates a unique situation found almost nowhere else.
Managing pilgrims, tourists looking for leopards, and the ecosystem itself, all in the same space.
Precisely. They have to manage the complex, sometimes conflicting needs and impacts of all these groups, alongside the core mission of protecting the wildlife and habitat.
It really is an incredibly complex environmental, cultural, and maybe even spiritual puzzle they're trying to solve there.
Which leads to a really interesting question for you, the listener, to think about. Given Yala's unique blend, its immense cultural and historical weight alongside its critical ecological importance, especially with that huge annual pilgrimage, how do conservation strategies need to adapt? How must they evolve when a national park is as much a sacred center for 400,000 people each year as it is a protected sanctuary for leopards, elephants, and turtles?